You're about to listen to the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast, a Majestic production property. One of the quickest rising professional wrestling podcasts on the market today, and the most entertaining podcast in the history of existence. Please note, before diving into the show, that this is for entertainment purposes only, so myself and Peanut Gallery engage in exaggerations, dirty or offensive jokes, and satirical comments. If you are a triggered little snowflake who gets professionally offended, this is not the podcast for you. If you do enjoy our work, we ask that you contribute to our Patreon page at patreon.com/MajesticP. Contributors get access to the Discord, vote on what topic we cover, and enjoy exclusive content such as pay-per-view watch parties. Here's a sample of that from NXT TakeOver Portland. What about the other company that Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly went from?
Oh, ROH?
The one that they were signed exclusively to.
Oh, Ring of Honor?
Oh, no. Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my God. I felt that in my hand. If this is something you believe you would enjoy, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/MajesticP and become a patron. This ensures that we continue to entertain you for years to come. Without further ado, sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to the 34th episode of the Pro Wrestling Zone. We have a lot to cover. I am Tiger Height.
And I am Peanut Gallery.
So before we really hop into it and get nitty gritty, I think there has been some confusion, at least on my end, regarding the pay-per-views.
Yes.
Peanut Gallery, if I can say your name, would you like to explain kind of what's going on?
All right, so Rebellion, as everyone probably has heard already, is taking place over 2 nights. It is this coming Tuesday and then following Tuesday.
That is the 23rd and the 28th.
Yes, so we are going to be covering both parts the first weekend in May, which I think is our May 3rd show is when we're going to cover both parts of Rebellion.
Yes. And
then as far as Double or Nothing tickets goes, we have the shoe-in for the event next year. But the event itself will be televised live on the 23rd of May, as it usually is, but it's going to probably end up being an empty arena.
Yeah.
So we will cover that as normal as well.
Yes. So basically, we will try to cover what we can if the event is going on.
Right.
So I just got a couple of questions about that. It's like, what's going on with Rebellion, and that's kind of what's going on with Rebellion.
Yes. So we are going to, like I said, we're going to cover Rebellion the first weekend in May.
Because Rebellion would have been tonight.
Right. It would have been, yes.
Given the circumstances, obviously.
Right. So that's what's going on. But for this episode, because obviously if you have been living under a rock this week, a lot of things have happened. Mm-hmm. And I mean a lot of things have happened this week, and then we're going to be covering Dark Side of the Ring with Jimmy Snuka.
Yes, so let's get into, I'm going to assume what everybody wants to hear, because really the two big stories I want to talk about are the releases and Howard Finkel.
Right, so let's talk about Howard Finkel first.
Okay, so Howard Finkel sadly passed away on the 16th. Mm-hmm. He was 69 years old, and he was not in good health. He had a major stroke on February of 2019, and he died in April, and I guess he just couldn't bounce back from the health, because it was a very, very severe stroke.
Right.
And, this one is a little more on the nose as a part of significant wrestling icons.
Right.
Howard Finkel was the first technical employee of the WWF under Vince McMahon Jr.
Yep.
He has been the voice of some of the most iconic moments in all of wrestling.
Yep.
And he had a lifetime contract. that a lot of people did not know. He is, right now, to my knowledge, the longest tenured employee that WWE has ever had.
Right.
Excluding Mr. McMahon, but the problem is, would you consider Mr. McMahon an employee of his own company?
Yeah, I would technically consider him an employee.
Well, you see, some people say yes, some people say no.
Well, if he is not the company is not. I mean,
he did not hire himself. Howard Finkel was the first person to be hired into the company, and he had a contract.
Vince McMahon is absolutely an employee of his own company. Mm-hmm. Like in a legal sense, he absolutely is.
Yes, but he still was not hired. He was not a hired employee. He was a hired employee about his father's company, but as soon as he took reins, he didn't hire himself.
Right.
But Howard Finkel,
like I said, in a legal sense, he is. But technically, Howard Finkel would be the longest tenured employee of McMahon. I mean, of the company in a spiritual sense. But
he did everything. He was the first person to do the announcing for WrestleMania, and he showed all the inductees of the Hall of Fame, and he was at every single WrestleMania, I think, like, up until WrestleMania 27 or something like that. Like, every single one. He did not miss a single WrestleMania. A very dedicated employee from the best of times to the worst of times. He is a man who did not really go out. And a lot of people, I mean, I'm even going to say this, he was the Bruce and Michael Buffer of wrestling. When you think announcers, Bruce Buffer was boxing, Michael Buffer is MMA and UFC, and Howard Finkel was wrestling.
Right.
So, it's hard to really
be loved by fans of every company.
I legitimately don't think anybody hated Howard Finkel.
No, I don't think so. I think every announcer today is inspired by his style.
Oh yeah,
and you can see elements that Howard Finkel's influence. You can see some of those. But yeah, it's a loss. It's a big loss for the professional wrestling industry for sure.
It is.
Just as not only a producer, but as a friend of the industry.
Yep,
he
was still involved in the company to the time of his passing. He was in a backstage role, so he was probably
a producer,
a consultant, something like that. But obviously, with his health, he was probably very difficult.
Right. So yeah, that's the big piece of news. But before we get to Black Wednesday, is there any other news that you would like to mention that happened within the wrestling industry?
That does not have to do with Black Wednesday.
That does not have to do with... I know that they're working on a backup for WrestleMania 37.
Yes.
As you have heard, there have been hints of further postponements of major events in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So they are working on a backup plan. And you say, well, it's a year out, but they're literally thinking about canceling events like for an entire year.
Yep.
There have been talks within city council about doing that.
I believe it might be a gross exaggeration of that power. That's just me,
Yeah,
though.
I think so too. But it's too early to tell. But there is word that WWE is working on a backup plan.
I already know what their backup plan should be. This shouldn't be fucking hard.
Right.
Go back to Tampa.
Right.
They deserve that WrestleMania.
Absolutely, they do. This is a WrestleMania that they got robbed of. And
I
think that's one of their ideas.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, to go back to Tampa. So we'll kind of see what happened there. Let's see. I thought there was one other piece. I can't remember the other piece, but besides that, let's get the show on the road here. Talk about the infamous Black Wednesday.
So, like I said, if you're living under a rock, over the
past couple of days, the WWE has released
22 wrestlers, 10 producers,
at least
3 coaches,
at least,
and 6 other members of talent or creative.
Right.
There could be more, there could be less, but these are the ones that we know hardcore 100% facts.
And what we'll do is I think we'll just give a brief synopsis of kind of where they were at in their contract, and then we'll also speculate on where they're going to go.
Yes, and it will be very brief because, like I said, 22 wrestlers by themselves and 10 producers. And this is also, people that we don't know if they have been, what is that
furloughed
word?
Or
furloughed.
fired. I think most of the producers got furloughed.
Yes.
I think most of these wrestlers got released. So before you say anything about the possibility of any one of these superstars being able to appear at Rebellion or any other taping, they are still under 90-day non-compete clauses.
NXT stars are under a 30.
Yes, NXT stars are 30 days, so we
weird.
will not see any of these wrestlers at least until July.
Right, which, I hate saying this, but that's not a huge deal.
So
whatever.
before you say, oh, we'll see Rusev at Double or Nothing, ain't gonna happen because he's under a 90-day no compete.
Right.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Rusev.
Also, if you let so here was a big difference between what happened here and having the contract end. The thing with Jon Moxley, which was a big one, they're like, oh, did Rusev write out his contract? No, he was released.
Right.
Moxley did not have a 90-day no-compete because he ran out his contract.
Right.
And if you run out the term of your contract, you don't have to you don't have to accept the 90-day no-compete.
Right. I know that the Revival also being released will not appear for 90 days as well.
Yes, they were released. They came
all
to
of these
an agreement.
none of these superstars are going to appear for 90 days because they were released from their contract.
And it also has been confirmed a lot of them did have severances, so
Yes.
it's not like they're not getting paid. They're not going to get paid as much, and they can do merchandise and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then for the difference between the releasing and the people who have just been furloughed. I don't know why I always say forlorn, and that's not correct.
No, is that furloughed employees, they're just not getting paid.
They still have their insurance.
Right.
Their families are still covered, which is fine. But this was a big thing. I don't think I've ever seen this many superstars released, and this couldn't have happened at a worse time.
But I see the silver lining. I've said for the longest time that WWE's rosters were over. Mm-hmm. They're huge. They were huge rosters, and they weren't utilizing the talent that they had.
Right.
And so I think that in some cases it's a good thing that they're whittling down the rosters to a more manageable size, because it's hard to just keep people on there for the sake of just being there.
Also, there is projection that the company will be saving $703,000 a month because of these cuts. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's a drop in the fucking bucket. Okay, it's
right.
not. I hate it because they have spent their money so frugally, and they could have pushed these people
so
to be
frivolously.
Right.
You said frugally, which is the opposite of frivolous.
You know what? It's opposite day, okay?
So, there are places where they could have cut other contracts as well. But, you got, like, Goldberg, who was paid $4 million to appear twice. You got people like Brock Lesnar, who are paid $10 million a year.
Right.
And then you go ahead and just release people who
and obviously you can argue about their drawing power, because obviously a Goldberg is going to draw bigger ratings, sell more merchandise than your Rusev.
Right.
I'm sorry.
But let's go.
Let's get into it. I think we kind of made our point.
Let's get into it.
Right.
So,
Rusev.
Let's talk about Rusev. He was in a contract dispute anyways, and he hasn't been on TV for a number of months.
It was inevitable.
So it was inevitable. I think he'll appear on AEW.
Yep, 100.
I think he's going to AEW.
I think Rusev will be one of the guys who signs a non-exclusive and maybe does some stuff in New Japan too.
Right, maybe.
I'm sure they're chomping at the bit because I would love to see Rusev versus Tomohiro Ishii. That already has made me rock hard. Okay.
Right.
Let's see here.
Kurt Angle was released from his contract.
I was surprised that he had a contract to begin with.
Well, he was working as a producer backstage, and I think that wherever he ends up going, he's going to continue to do that.
Oh yeah, he'll be a consultant.
He's going to be a producer.
He just can't wrestle anymore. We saw that clearly.
Right.
Zack Ryder. This was a 14-year career where he was off and on. I thought he was a good worker. Yeah. I really liked Zack Ryder.
And he is good friends with Cody, so it is very likely that he will end up with AEW.
100%. He has
very likely.
Obviously, he has a great mind for his own creative style. He did Z True Long Island Story, which was a huge success on YouTube. It was almost like the brainchild of Being the Elite. On how to book yourself. And he booked himself. He made himself popular.
Right.
And it's like, that's the kind of power that he needs because he's like Matt Hardy with that creativity.
Right.
I can see him doing really cool stuff, but he had good moments.
Yeah.
So it's not like this 14-year career was wasted.
Right. All right, let's go to
Eric Rowan.
Eric Rowan. I think
he's going to Japan 100.
You think so? Has he ever been to Japan before? Wasn't he in Japan previously?
No, he went. He literally went to and he was trained in Florida.
Oh, he was.
Yep.
Okay, so he was never.
He's a big guy. He has a weird presence about him, which I think he can really book well. And he's a really good little brawler. He never had bad matches. I think.
Right.
I don't think people gave him enough credit.
Right. So. I can
also,
see
he and Rowan and Brody Lee are also extremely good friends. They talk every week, so I wouldn't be surprised
I wouldn't be surprised if he had ended up being part of the Dark Order or something. All right, so let's talk about Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson.
Yep. Gallows and Anderson were released. I was kind of pissed off about this one.
Yeah, so was AJ Styles. AJ Styles came out on record and said that he wishes he had more power to, he should have used his power to keep those guys on. So he was very, very disappointed by that.
Yep.
But they have Japan written all over themselves.
Japan, they're doing a podcast.
Yes.
Now, which I actually listened to it. It's really fun. It's just basically like shooting the shit, blah, blah, blah. I think it was a lot of fun. They're going to be fine. I'm not worried about them. Thank God they left. WWE obviously signed them. They spoiled them, whatever.
Right. Sarah Logan.
Sarah Logan's an interesting one because every match that I saw with her, I'm like, man, she is getting better and better. And she was not bad. Like, she was never a bad wrestler. She was just kind of lost in the shuffle.
And see, here's what surprises me, too, is that she's also married to Eric of the Viking Raiders, who is still with the company.
Yep.
So, why release the wife, but... this is the first. This obviously Rusev. Lana's still under contract.
Yep.
But Rusev is not. So that's kind of weird.
Right. It was like a flip flop. I think Sarah Logan would be really good in Impact.
I think so.
I think she would be really good in NWA. I think she would be a heavy hitter in both.
One of those two. I think NWA needs her more because NWA has such a smaller roster.
Right.
But she could also be a very good asset in Impact. Absolutely.
100%. EC3, this one.
Yeah, it's like, did we... It's funny because it's like, boy, they signed him like he was the hottest free agent, which he was, and then they completely missed the mark on him. I also think that he's currently injured, right?
Yes, I believe he suffered a concussion.
Okay.
And he was just kind of out there. So actually, this is probably a blessing in disguise for him, so he can kind of get his brain back in order.
Right. Where would you see him going next? AEW?
AEW or Impact?
Yeah, one of those two.
Like one of those two. There was obviously the teasers for AEW, but I think Impact might swoop him in because he was a big time player in Impact.
Yeah.
So I could see him in both.
Right.
Maybe a non-exclusive.
Right.
So the next one, Drake Maverick. Wow, this one was rough because he released that video and it hurt. That one hurt.
He was very saddened by this, but they are allowing him to still compete in the Cruiserweight Classic tournament. It's pretty obvious at this point they're not going to book him to win the
Yep.
Cruiserweight Championship, but at least they're letting him do that. I think Spud deserves a lot more, and I think he'll go, and I wonder if he'll go back to England and wrestle for a while.
He might do that. I could see him going back to Impact and being a big player in the X division.
Maybe, yeah.
Because that's really where he got his big break.
Right.
And, I think he has a big creative mind, and I think he would be a big asset to a lot of people. He's been wrestling for a while.
Right.
So, you never know what he's going to do, but I feel like him and EC3 will do like a team up thing. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Because they're genuinely amazing friends. So
Right.
they're good.
Kurt Hawkins, now I heard a story that his wife was very stressed out about Kurt Hawkins.
Yes, she is expecting.
And she also quit her job recently to be a stay-at-home mom, knowing that, he had
the wrestling
that
job.
Kurt Hawkins
and then,
had his job.
She knew that they were going to cut people.
Right.
And I read her statement.
Yeah.
And she was praying. She's like, man, if I hear that phone ring right now, I am going to cry. And it was heartbreaking. I'm like, they have a younger daughter right now.
Right.
She's expecting number 2, and she quit her job because obviously she's pregnant, and now I think he'll be fine because him and Zack Ryder have the toy podcast.
Right. Well, see, Kurt Hawkins also, he's not that stressed out about it. He's not stressed.
No, there are other avenues for him.
Right.
He already has merch. Out on Pro Wrestling Tees.
I don't think he'll go to AEW like Zack Ryder is. I don't think he's a shoo-in for it, but I could see
him in either Impact or NWA.
Right,
100%. I think he would be a huge asset to NWA. I think that'd be
so.
Really cool.
Yeah, that would be.
But I don't have a problem with it because he has, like I said, him and Zack Ryder have the toy podcast, which I love. I listen to it all the time, and then they just started a new one, so they'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. God bless his wife, though. I can understand her
frustration.
That was the frustration and just the scare.
Right.
Obviously there's a lot going on.
All right, let's talk about the Kanellises.
Yes, Maria and Mike Kanellis have been released. All I can say is thank God.
Right.
Not the fact that they were bad, just the fact that they were so terribly used.
Yes.
That they should have never left Impact.
No.
I'm like, oh man, this is a really bad idea in so many ways.
Absolutely.
But they were teasing, going back to New Japan because they have a good relationship with New Japan. Going back to Ring of Honor, which I wouldn't mind.
I think that with Maria having a young family, though, with the Kanellises having a young family, I think they'll stay stateside for the foreseeable future.
Right.
They might return, when the kids are older, but I just don't know.
Right.
But let's talk about Heath Slater.
This guy, he was
3MB. So one member of 3MB wins the championship. The other one was previous champion, but we're never going to see Heath Slater win his.
I am not surprised about this one.
No,
but
I'm not either.
This was the guy who was the most optimistic.
Yes.
Out of the bunch. I don't think he was. I think he knew. I think he's like, I have everything prepped. I will be fine.
Right. And he came out like hours after his release with the I'm Fired t-shirts.
Yep. And I thought that was really good.
That's really good.
I think he'll be okay. I could see him as a enormous asset to the NWA. He's a Southern guy already. He won't have to travel as much because it's all in the studio space in Atlanta.
Right.
And I think he lives in like Louisiana or something like that. So he'll be fine. I have no worries about him.
Right.
And also he does have he has a decently little title accolade, 3-time tag team champion, part of the Nexus. Now, with these releases, do you realize there's only one person from the Nexus that's still signed with WWE?
Who's that?
Daniel Bryan.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
He is the only person still signed with the company, a part of that
right.
group.
Well, Heath Slater's also good friends with Rhino, so I could see him in Impact as well.
Oh, yeah. No, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Anyways, let's go to No Way Jose.
No Way Jose. Man, that one was rough because I hated the gimmick, but man, that guy could work. He was tall, but he could move really well. I think
he was super over in NXT. They should have never brought him up.
Nope.
But I can see. I don't know what Noe Jose's future looks like, because where else has he worked besides the WWE?
That's really about it.
Yeah. Wasn't he trained in the Performance Center? Mm-hmm. So I don't. This is the one.
Honestly,
where
you know what? I could see him go the Juice Robinson route. Go to Japan, be trained in the dojos there, and become a star that way.
That's true. You could do that.
He was never bad.
Right.
But his gimmick was just kind of. It was weird how he got over.
Right. It was.
It was super. It was the same thing with Adam Rose. Like, how the hell does that happen?
Right.
Eric Young. Now this one was interesting to me. He is doing stuff as a. He's doing stuff with the NHL in their fantasy drafts and whatever.
But he has Impact written all over him.
Oh yeah,
I think he's gonna
do producer.
I think that he would go back and be a producer. He'd go the Gail Kim route, maybe wrestle occasionally.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think he needs to wrestle all the time.
No. Okay, Leo Rush.
This one was weird. I did not like this decision. I like Leo Rush.
Where else did Leo Rush wrestle?
He wrestled in Ring of Honor. He was trained in Ring of Honor.
Okay. So either, I don't know. This is wide open right here.
You know what I see him doing, and I think this would be a really good thing for him?
What?
Junior heavyweight Japan.
Oh, okay.
That'd be really good for him. He would go so well with that, and they need heavy hitting star power like Leo Rush.
Right.
And, he's still very young. I'm not worried about him.
Right.
So, that's just kind of my thoughts on Leo Rush being released overall.
Let's talk about Primo and Epico together, because
Thank God.
Yeah, it's like you didn't even know they were both signed with the company.
Yep.
Here's what they're going to do, and this is pretty obvious. They're going to go to...
They're going to stay in Puerto Rico.
They're going to stay in Puerto Rico.
And they're going to do Mexico.
And they're probably going to do some Mexican, like you'll see them probably in AAA or CMLL. One of those two. Deonna Purrazzo, I don't think she's going to go back to wrestling. I think that she'll do...
Really?
I don't know.
I don't think she said anything about her not wrestling anymore.
Well, I don't know, because wasn't she also on a couple of other TV shows and stuff? No, that was Casey.
Yeah, that was Casey. That was Casey Catanzaro.
Right. Okay, I'm getting those two mixed up.
She's also not on this list, by the way.
Oh, yes, Casey Catanzaro is also released. Now, see, Casey Catanzaro, I don't see going back to wrestling.
Right, she was the American Ninja Warrior girl.
I see her doing something with American Ninja Warrior.
Right. We'll
but
see.
Deonna Purrazzo,
I can see
where else did she work?
She's worked in... Oh, God. I know she worked Ring of Honor for, like, a hiccup.
Right.
I can't really remember. I know she's had I think she worked more in England. I think she was. Okay. I think she was more British.
I think she'll go back then. Either
that, or I could see her as a pretty decent little heavy hitter in AEW. I wouldn't mind it.
Maybe. I don't know AEW.
They have to have some star power with that roster. That's a one division that they just suffer, and that's the women's division.
Right.
So that's just me. Dan Matha. This one was interesting because he just came out saying, like, literally 2 days before this, he was in a massive car wreck. And he was in the hospital bed when he got the news.
Right.
So
that's too bad.
He was only Performance Center, more training. I don't think he wrestled too much outside of that.
So who knows? Maybe he'll join another wrestling school.
And he's a tall motherfucker.
Right.
He's a big dude, so maybe he'll do the Japan way too. Maybe he'll get some more training.
Right.
But that's just kind of where that is.
Right.
MJ Jenkins, she wrestled there for a hiccup. She wrestled in Impact, so I think that's where she's going to be going.
Right. Either that or...
And then also, I think her brother-in-law died of COVID, too.
Oh, fun.
Yep. And that was like a day before she heard that she was going to be released.
Right.
So, all that fun stuff.
All right. Now, Alyssa Marino.
She wrestled NXT house shows.
Okay.
And she did commentator and interview stuff, but other than that, I don't know where she's going to go. I never saw her wrestle, nor do I know any information about her.
Alexander Jakic?
Yes, he's a German dude.
All right, so I'll probably go back to Europe.
Yep.
because all those are who
live.
knows?
Once again, only live shows. That
Right.
was about it. I'm sorry. We it's no disrespect to them, but we just didn't see any work.
Right. Oh yeah, let's talk about who the producers were they got for Load. Fit Finley, Shane Helms, Billy Kidman, Mike Rotunda, Pat Buck, Sean Davari, Scott Armstrong, Shara Stock, Lance Storm. Okay, so I think that they cut those in particular because those were the road producers.
Yep.
Because obviously they're not on the road.
Right. I don't think any of them are going to be outright fired.
No, they're all gonna come back, but we just have to wait until they get up to.
The coaches. This one was kind of weird.
Serena Deb.
Serena Deb. Kendo Cashin. I have no idea.
And Ace Steel.
And yeah, Ace Steel. Now this one.
Well, I think it's because they cut all the performance center recruits too.
Yes.
So they cut the coaches because there's no need for coaches.
And also, Ace Steel was the guy who played Donald Trump in the match against the Rosie.
Oh, I remember that one. That was funny.
Yeah, that was Ace Steel. The announcers: Aiden English, Jerry Soto.
So Jerry Soto was the Spanish announcer, or a Spanish.
Yeah, he was like a Spanish announcer, I believe, for NXT for like 9 years. He was there for a while, and then obviously,
Aiden English. I think he'll probably go he'll probably do announcing at another promotion, kind of go the Stu Bennett route.
I think he was a good announcer. I really liked him. I could see him in NWA working with Stu. That'd be freaking cool.
That would be fun. All right, referee Mike Chioda.
That one, people were pissed.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I got any more like sheer mortal hatred than this decision.
Right.
Was the Mike Chioda firing, because he was referee there for like 30 years.
Right. He was the longest tenured referee.
Yep.
And obviously the reason that they cut him is because obviously he probably commands the most money. Yep. Which is not the way to go.
Yep. It is what it is. Mike Chioda will be fine. Maybe he'll be done. He's been refereeing since 1989. Like shit.
Oh no, he'll have his assets utilized somewhere.
Oh yeah, he might contact his old buddy Earl and get some good gigs. Yeah, I guarantee it.
Oh god, yes.
The creative team.
Andrea Listenberger. So if you don't know her, she is the one behind.
Also, she was hired in December.
Yes. So she was the youngest tenured person there, but she was also the brainchild behind the Otis and Mandy Rose storyline.
The only writer for that storyline too, up to WrestleMania and even beyond.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, look at that. The most compelling storyline of WrestleMania. The match that everyone was excited for.
Right.
And if we saw Otis and Mandy kiss in front of 80,000 people, they would have fucking taken the ship and it became unglued and flipped into the fucking street. That's how big that moment would have been. Just because it was just like, yes. It was just like, it's that easy, people.
Right.
But yes, that sucks for her. And then the other on-air talent who were Josiah Williams, who I have no fucking clue.
So he was...
Oh, that was the guy who sang Adam Cole's...
Yes.
Let's try this again. Adam Cole.
Baby.
There we go. His theme song for NXT. He was a music producer.
Right. And then John Questo, who was the announcer for 205 Live. So
yes,
since they've hired both 205 Live announcers and the general manager, do you think that brand is pretty much going to go away?
Yeah.
I think that within a couple weeks here we'll see 205 Live completely get absorbed into
100%
into NXT.
Now, I'm not sure if Casey Catanzaro, Cassius Ohno. I think both of them. I know Cassius Ohno.
Cassius Ohno, yes, that's right. Cassius Ohno did get laid off.
Yes, he was released as well, which really sucks.
Yes, but I see. Obviously he's been in wrestling for a long time.
He'll go back to wrestling and he'll be fine.
Yeah,
and
he'll go back. He'll probably do like Impact or NWA or something.
We'll keep you up to date if there are any more people that are released. That was just the Wednesday releases essentially.
So that's pretty much how it goes. But let us know what your thoughts are on all these releases. Obviously, this is a huge event that happened. This is I mean, they always do spring cleaning, but this is unprecedented. The number of talent that were released, and do you think that they're done?
No. I think there might be more.
I think there might be more as well.
Depending on how long this pandemic and quarantine thing will last, honestly.
Right. Do you see any of these wrestlers perhaps going back to WWE after this?
Maybe.
I might see a couple of the younger talents, like especially some of the NXT people. I think they might go back.
Right.
But for a lot of these WWE talents,
they're done.
They're done with WWE. I think for a long time. So
right. All right.
But we'll keep you up to date. But when we come back, we will discuss Dark Side of the Ring.
Yes,
on Jimmy Snuka
and Nancy Argentino. So we'll be right back.